Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. The NHS starts setting up coronavirus vaccination centres and the first doses could be delivered next month.
The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, keeps her job after being found to have broken rules by bullying staff. Now, questions for Boris Johnson over his influence on the report.
Taking a stand against fake reviews, we meet the businessman who's started legal action against Google.
Good morning. New calls for restrictions on heading the ball in football training following concerns over the number of former players suffering from dementia.
Good morning. Cooler air's arriving further north of the UK today, with rain followed by blustery showers and some sunshine. In the south, it stays mild but pretty cloudy, but that cooler air is moving across all of the UK by the time we get to tomorrow. I'll have a full forecast coming up a bit later on.
Good morning, it's Saturday the 21st of November. Our top story, the NHS has started setting up coronavirus vaccination centres across the UK with the hope of getting all adults vaccinated by the spring.
With infection rates dropping and levelling off in all 4 nations, the government has officially asked the medical regulator to assess the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for UK use. Anna O'Neill has more.
This is the ray of light as described by the Health Secretary. Millions of doses of this Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 could be heading to Britain as early as next month, and the NHS is getting ready for a mass vaccination programme.
We will be ready to start the vaccination next month, with the bulk of the rollout in the new year. We're heading in the right direction.
Yesterday, another 511 people died within 28 days of catching COVID. But there may be signs that the R rate, or infection rate, is flattening. In the latest Office for National Statistics survey, 1 in 80 people in England were thought to have coronavirus, similar to the week before. In Scotland, it was 1 person in 155 and rates were levelling off. In Wales, it was 1 person in 165, with rates decreasing over the past 2 weeks. And in Northern Ireland, rates have been decreasing over 4 weeks, and 1 in 135 people are infected. The Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England is cautiously optimistic.
Overall, clearly it is an improving picture. These are very early signs that the epidemic is beginning to level. But we should be cautious about interpreting that. And, please everyone remember that it just takes a few seconds to create new infections.
Christmas family get-togethers may still be in doubt, but some restrictions are being lifted today. The government has changed lockdown rules in England so that Christmas tree farms and sellers can start trading from this morning. Anna O'Neill, BBC News.
And just after 9 o'clock this morning, we'll be joined by virologist Professor Callum Semple and GP Dr Sarah Jarvis. They'll be on hand to answer all of your COVID-related questions. You can send them in to us by email or on social media.
Boris Johnson is facing questions about whether he tried to tone down an independent report which found the Home Secretary broke the ministerial code by bullying staff.
Downing Street has insisted that the conclusions of Sir Alex Allen's investigation were entirely his own. Priti Patel apologised yesterday for upsetting people. Our political correspondent Jess Parker has more.
Portsmouth was on that side.
Yeah.
Standing by her, Boris Johnson says he has full confidence in Priti Patel and considers the matter closed after an independent report found her approach had on occasions amounted to behaviour that could be described as bullying, with evidence, it said, of shouting and swearing.
I'm sorry that my behaviour has upset people. And I've never intentionally set out to upset anyone. I work with thousands of brilliant civil servants every single day, and we work together day in, day out to deliver on the agenda of this government. And I'm absolutely sorry for anyone that I have upset.
The report said Priti Patel had legitimately not always felt supported at the Home Office and that there was no evidence she'd been aware of the impact of her behaviour. But the Prime Minister's independent advisor on ministerial standards, Sir Alex Allen, concluded she had breached the ministerial code, even if unintentionally. Boris Johnson disagreed and, as Prime Minister, has the final say.
I mean, the system does make the Prime Minister judge and jury, but in the past, Prime Ministers have always acted when there's been a breach of the ministerial code. And that's why, in a sense, this is a much more serious moment than previous ones, because the Prime Minister seems to have gone against what would have happened in the past. And that does mean that you wonder what the value of the ministerial code is.
Now a Whitehall source says that Sir Alex Allen had resisted pressure to make the report more palatable. A separate source told the BBC there were discussions in the summer between Sir Alex and Boris Johnson about the challenges the report presented. A Downing Street spokesman said that, as you would expect, the Prime Minister spoke to Sir Alex Allen to further his understanding of the report, but that Sir Alex's conclusions were entirely his own. Jessica Parker, BBC News.
There's been more setbacks to Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the US presidential election.
Georgia has certified Joe Biden's win in the state, whilst senior Republicans in Michigan say that they've seen no information that would overturn Mr. Biden's victory there.
Well, let's speak now to our North America correspondent, David Willis, who joins us now. Morning, David. Good morning to you. So, I mean, when you look at the messages coming out from these various states, it is only going in one direction. And yet, Mr. Trump, his message stays the same.
Absolutely, and Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the outcome of the 2020 election are starting to look increasingly desperate. As you mentioned there, he summoned a delegation of Republican lawmakers from the swing state of Michigan to the White House today, presumably. It's thought widely anyway, part of an attempt that he's made to convince local judges and election officials to overturn the result in that swing state. Joe Biden won the state of Michigan by more than 155,000 votes, but it doesn't appear to have worked, at least based on a statement that those Michigan Republican lawmakers released after their meeting with Mr. Trump at the White House. They said that they would act according to the law when it came to certifying the vote in that state, and they saw no reason at the moment to overturn the outcome. As I say, Donald Trump is increasingly clasping at straws, it would seem, and there is talk that he might try to get Republican lawmakers from another swing state, Pennsylvania, to the White House in the next few days as well.
David, whilst all that is going on, coronavirus has come again close to President Trump and his family. This is Donald Trump Jr., news released about him.
That's right, and he said today that he was quarantining in upstate New York, polishing his guns, as he put it. But Donald Trump Jr. is the second of Donald Trump's children to have contracted the coronavirus. It's a virus that has killed more than 250,000 people here in the United States. And today, Friday, that is, was the worst one-day total of coronavirus cases since the pandemic began here. It's going to be a top priority and a big concern for Joe Biden when he takes office in 2 months' time.
David, thanks very much.
Boris Johnson will call on world leaders to do more to tackle climate change and the pandemic at the G20 summit today. At the annual meeting of the world's 20 largest economies, the Prime Minister is expected to stress the importance of fair access to vaccines. The summit is taking place virtually this year and will be hosted by Saudi Arabia for the first time.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.